All right, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call this workshop to order. Thank you for being here today. It is 11:30 a.m. on December 1st, 2023, and this is the scheduled time for the workshop to solicit comments regarding proposed changes to Chapter 583 of the Nevada Administrative Code. This workshop is being held in person at the Lyon County Library on 20 Nevin Way in Yerington, Nevada, zip code 89447. As well as virtually via Zoom using either computer or telephone to ensure all wishing to participate may do so. This workshop has been properly noticed and is being recorded as required by Nevada open meeting law. We are recording today's meeting for those wishing to view at a later date. My name is Shada Sanjida, and I am the project manager for the Nevada Meat and Poultry Inspection Program. The following NDA staff members are also in attendance. Please state your name and title.
For the record, Alyssa Townsell, the Meat and Poultry Inspection Program Educator.
Thank you. Now I'll be reading off of the names on the sign-in sheet for those in physical presence. If you haven't placed your name on the sign-in sheet, please do so before you leave so that we may keep an accurate record of those who attended the meeting. I have Leanna Carey, Curtis Jordan, and Daryl Purcell. For those participating via Zoom, we will say your name and record your attendance for you. Julia Miller Ketchum, could you please unmute and let me know if anyone is attending with you?
Good morning, Julia Miller Ketchum for Nevada Department of Agriculture, and I'm in my office by myself.
Thank you. Shelly Pope, could you please unmute and let me know if anyone is attending with you?
Shelly Pope, and I have Lander Smith with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Busselman, could you please unmute and let me know if anyone is attending with you?
Yes, Doug Busselman, Nevada Farm Bureau. I'm here by myself.
Thank you, Doug. Mike, could you please unmute and let me know if anyone is attending with you, as well as your last name, please?
Mike Ray, Two Pigs Custom Meats in Alamo, and I'm by myself.
Thank you. So I will go over a few housekeeping items. We'll be using some of the features of Zoom for those who have joined us through the online platform. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see participants in chat. Click on chat to open the chat box. Next, locate the participants icon and click to open. Find your name on the participants list and hover over your name. A raised hand icon will appear. This is what you'll click to participate in roll call and if you wish to speak during public comment. Click it again to lower your hand after speaking or to withdraw the request. If you don't find the hand by hovering near your name, use the three dots at the bottom of the screen to open a menu where you have the option of lowering your hand. For those participating by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. We have muted everyone to reduce background noise, and if you wish to give public comment, please use the hand raising feature and we'll call on you to ensure that your mic is unmuted. For those on the phone, you can unmute yourself by pressing *6. If you have any technical issues during the meeting, please try the following. Turn the video off to see if the connection improves. Leave the video meeting and either try to rejoin or call in using the phone number and login information from the agenda. If you're having problems getting unmuted or into the comment queue, use the chat function to make your comment and it will be recorded for the record. In addition to public comment during this workshop, interested parties are welcome to submit written public comment and email to ssanjideh@agri.nv.gov. If you're attending in person, please sign the sign-in sheet. If you are virtually attending, we'll be using the participant list for the record. If we're unsure of your name, we may send you a message so we have the correct information in the meeting minutes. If you're joining via phone, please send an email to ssanjideh@agri.nv.gov indicating you participated in today's workshop or remain on the line after we close so that we may capture your information for the meeting record. I will go ahead and provide you with an overview of the rulemaking process so that you have background on the state of Nevada's current regulations and where we are making proposed changes. During 2022, the agency began the development of a meat and poultry inspection program funded and administered primarily by the NDA. NDA staff were tasked with reviewing the Nevada Administrative Code. As the first step, the Nevada Department of Agriculture reviewed the existing NAC language, updated sections due to federal guidelines, reviewed other state programs, and calculated program costs. The draft we're reviewing in this workshop is the most updated version of proposed changes. These changes were submitted to the Legislative Council Bureau, LCB, for review and comment on, and then were sent to the NDA with LCB's response. Next, the department distributed a small business impact survey for industry input. The information was compiled and a statement was included with this workshop notice. This workshop is being held to review the proposed changes and receive public comment to help shape the final proposed language. Additional comments may be submitted following the workshop up until December 15th, 2023. Following the workshop process, and once the Legislative Council Bureau has provided input and approval to move forward, a hearing to intent to adopt proposed regulations will be scheduled and noticed. Public comment may also be made before, during, and after that hearing. The draft coming out of the hearing process is then adopted by the department and submitted for review and approval by the Legislative Commission. After approval by the Legislative Commission or subcommittee to review regulations, the Legislative Council Bureau will file the regulation with the Secretary of State. This is the point at which the adopted regulation would become effective. From our agenda, we'll start with a period of open comment for anyone wishing to speak about concerns or to provide feedback. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes to ensure everyone can be heard. Following open comment, we will review the proposed changes to NAC 583, followed by time for questions and clarifications after questions. After questions, there will be another period for additional public comment on the proposed changes. Those who wish to speak during public comment are requested to raise their hand, either in person or virtually, and when called upon, identify themselves by name and affiliation for the record. Again, please save your questions for after public comment at the conclusion of the review of proposed changes. There will be time for questions and dialogue at that point once all information has been shared before we move on to the next round of public comment. At this moment, we will open the first period for public comment for anyone who wishes to provide comments for the record. As a reminder, please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Leanna?
Leanna Carey, Progressive Rancher Magazine. My concern is that we have burdened the small guy, the custom exempt, and I would like to keep that in very important protection of the small guy in Nevada. And thank you.
Thank you.
Better organized.
All right, at this moment, I'm not seeing any further public comments. All right, the department is proposing changes and additions to Nevada Administrative Code, Chapter 583, to allow for a state meat and poultry inspection program while also providing clarification for custom meat and poultry processing operations. We will go ahead and review these proposed changes and additions in detail. For a state to be able to develop and administer their own meat and poultry inspection program, the state must operate in a manner and with authorities that are at least equal to the federal inspection program. This program is a fee-based program, and the department did not receive general funding, and this was taken into consideration when reviewing the fees. The proposed fees program is based on the costs that the department would incur in order to operate a meat and poultry inspection program in the state of Nevada. The program takes into special consideration the cost of ensuring that Nevada citizens are provided with a safe meat and poultry inspection program that focuses on the public's health and safety. I will now go ahead and begin the review of the proposed changes today. So sections 2 through 11 of this regulation define certain terms that relate to the inspection of meat and poultry. Section 12 of this regulation requires a person who wishes to operate an official establishment to submit an application for a permit to the department. It establishes fees to obtain or renew a permit and requires the applicant to submit certain plans for the construction of the official establishment covered by the permit under certain circumstances. It establishes a fee for the review of such plans by the department and establishes certain provisions governing such a permit.
I have questions on that too. I get to enter them now or no? Okay.
Once we get into the questions time.
Like I said, I got more organized this time.
Section 13 of this regulation requires a person who wishes to operate a custom processing establishment or mobile processing unit to submit an application for a license to the department. It establishes fees to obtain or renew a license and requires the applicant to submit certain plans for the construction of the custom processing establishment or mobile processing unit covered by the license under certain circumstances. It establishes a fee for the review of such plans by the department and establishes certain provisions governing such a license. Section 14 of this regulation requires a holder of a permit or license to operate an official establishment, custom processing establishment, or mobile processing unit who intends to remodel, renovate, or alter an official establishment, custom processing establishment, or mobile processing unit as applicable to, before performing any such work, submit to the department a plan detailing the proposed changes and a fee for the review of the plan by the department. Section 15 of this regulation authorizes, with certain exceptions, the department to grant inspection services to each person issued a permit or license to operate an official establishment, a custom processing establishment, or mobile processing unit if the permittee or licensee satisfies certain requirements, and it requires the department to notify a permittee or licensee if the department grants inspection services to such a person. Section 16 of this regulation establishes certain requirements for the construction, design, and use of a mobile processing unit. Section 17 of this regulation also establishes certain requirements for the construction, design, and use of a mobile processing unit. Section 18 of this regulation establishes various requirements relating to the sanitation procedures used and the handling of certain food products in a mobile processing unit. Section 19 of this regulation establishes various requirements relating to the sanitation procedures used and the handling of certain food products in a mobile processing unit. Section 20 of this regulation establishes various requirements relating to the sanitation procedures used and the handling of certain food products in a mobile processing unit. Section 21 of this regulation establishes various requirements relating to the sanitation procedures used in the handling of certain food products in a mobile processing unit. Section 22 of this regulation requires a custom processing establishment or mobile processing unit to comply with certain provisions of federal law. Section 23 of this regulation requires a person who holds a license to operate a custom processing establishment to tag each animal for slaughter and carcass of such animal as not for sale, and to keep products for custom processing separate from other products under inspection. Section 24 of this regulation requires an inspector to mark certain equipment, utensils, rooms, or compartments that are not sanitary or could adulterate a product with a Nevada rejected tag. Section 25 of this regulation authorizes the department to detain or embargo meat or poultry in a custom processing establishment or mobile processing unit if the meat or poultry does not have proper identification or the meat or poultry does not comply with the requirements of this chapter. Section 26 of this regulation requires each person issued a permit or license to operate an official establishment, custom processing establishment, or mobile processing unit to comply with certain federal laws relating to humane methods of slaughter. Section 27 of this regulation requires each person issued a license to operate a custom processing establishment or a mobile processing unit to keep records in accordance with certain federal laws, and it authorizes the department at reasonable times to access such records. Section 28 of this regulation authorizes the department to issue a written warning to a person who holds a license to operate a custom processing establishment or a mobile processing unit who is suspected of committing certain repeated violations. It provides certain requirements for such a warning and authorizes the department to perform an inspection to determine if the violation was corrected and charge a fee for such an inspection. Section 29 of this regulation authorizes the department to suspend a license to operate a custom processing establishment or mobile processing unit under certain circumstances. This section also authorizes a person whose license was suspended to request a hearing before the department. And it also authorizes the licensee to apply to the department for reinstatement of a license. Additionally, this section authorizes the department to charge a fee for the reinstatement of a license. Section 30 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 010 to provide clarification of the United States Department of Agriculture and to add reference to Title 9 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 301. Section 31 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 020 to provide clarification on the type of establishment. And it removes reference to the Board of Health and instead includes the department. Section 32 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 030. It provides clarification for the United States Department of Agriculture, and it includes poultry or poultry food products. Section 33 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 040 to include poultry products. Section 34 of this regulation is amending NAC 583, Section 050 to include poultry or poultry food products. Additionally, it removes reference to the state health officer and instead includes reference to the state quarantine officer. Additionally, it removes reference to the Board of Health and instead adds reference to the department. Section 35 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 070 to clarify the United States Department of Agriculture. Section 36 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 231. It provides clarification for the Secretary of Agriculture to mean the Secretary of Agriculture of the United States. Section 37 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 350 to include poultry and poultry food products. Additionally, it provides clarification of the Department of Agriculture to be the United States Department of Agriculture. Section 38 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 370 to remove reference to the Board of Health and instead reference the department. Section 39 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 380 to include poultry and poultry food products. Additionally, it provides for the humane handling and sanitary conditions in the types of establishments covered. Section 40 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 390 to provide clarification on the types of establishments covered. And it provides clarification for the type of commerce. Additionally, it adds poultry food products. Section 41 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 400, to provide clarification for an official establishment. Additionally, it clarifies the Department of Agriculture as the United States Department of Agriculture. And it amends a section that relates to any animal that is affected with disease or shows symptom of disease and the appropriate methods of handling. Section 42 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 410 to include poultry. Additionally, it provides a clarification on the types of stamps and their wording to be Nevada inspected. And it provides clarification on the type of establishment covered by this section. This section also includes what must be done for any meat or poultry which is not fit for human consumption. Section 43 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 420 to include poultry. Section 44 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 430 to include poultry and poultry food products. It also provides clarification for the types of establishment that are covered under this section. This section also provides for the cleanliness and sanitary condition of custom processing establishments and mobile processing units. Section 45 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 440 to include poultry and poultry food product. Additionally, it provides clarification on the type of establishment that is covered by this section. Additionally, it provides a reference to the Poultry Products Inspection Act. This section also provides for how custom processing products must be labeled, as well as how poultry products exempt from this chapter must be labeled. Section 46 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 450 to include poultry and poultry food products. Additionally, it provides clarification on the type of establishment covered by this section. This section also provides for that no carcass, animal, meat food product, poultry or poultry food product that is not prepared in accordance with the provisions of this chapter may enter or be inspected at any official establishment. Section 47 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 460. And it provides for the labeling of such products covered by this chapter. Section 48 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 470 to provide clarification on the types of establishments covered by this section. Additionally, it adds poultry and poultry food products. Section 49 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 480. It removes reference to the Board of Health and references the department or the officer. Additionally, it provides a reference to Nevada Revised Statute 583, Section 543. Section 50 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 490 to include poultry and poultry food product. Additionally, it adds reference to the Poultry Products Inspection Act. Section 51 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 510. It removes a section and then provides clarification of the Secretary of Agriculture to be the Secretary of Agriculture of the United States Department of Agriculture. It provides reference to Section 661 of the Federal Meat Inspection Act. Section 52 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 520. It removes reference to the Health Division of the Department of Health and Human Services and instead references the department. It provides clarification of the Agricultural Marketing Service of the United States Department of Agriculture. Additionally, it removes reference to the Board of Health and instead references the department. And it provides for the adoption by reference of such regulations. It provides for which sections of Title IX of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 300 to 500, are adopted by reference. It provides for which sections of the Federal Meat Inspection Act are adopted by reference. It provides for which parts of the Poultry Products Inspection Act are adopted by reference. It adopts by reference the Humane Methods of Slaughter Act. It includes clarification of the language used to mean the state equivalent or counterpart. It provides for how these regulations can be obtained. It provides for the review by the officer of adopted by reference regulations to determine their suitability for the state. Section 53 of this regulation amends NAC 583, Section 530 to include poultry and poultry food products. It also provides for which sections of exemptions from the Federal Meat Inspection Act and Poultry Product Inspection Act are adopted by reference. Section 54 of this regulation repeals NAC 583, Section 300. The text of the repealed section states, officer defined. Officer means the state health officer. All right, well, we are now available to take any questions regarding the proposed changes. Quick reminder for those online, please use the raised hand function to be called upon. And please be sure to state your name and affiliation for the record. And as a reminder for anyone who has joined on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And once you've been called upon, you can press *6 to unmute yourself.
No, 'cause I got a long list.
No, you can.
I have a couple. Want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
On the $750.
Excuse
for-
me, Alyssa Townsell for the record. Do you mind stating your name and affiliation for the record? Thank you.
Hi, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're
Leanna
fine.
Carey, Progressive Rancher Magazine. And my first question is, on the plans to be reviewed, you have a fee of $750 just for the review. And I'm gonna say that if you divide it by the possibility, you're charging $100 an hour. So you're planning on having the plans reviewed for 7+ hours? Is that how long it's gonna take to review the plans?
Thank you for your question, Leanna. This is Shada Sanjita for the record. Your question is regarding the plan review fee and the amount of time that it would take to perform a plan review fee. Now, I can't say for certain how long each plan review would take because they do depend on the type of facility, the size of facility, the operation of the facility, species involved in the facility, if this facility needs a HACCP plan, if they don't need a HACCP plan. And it also provides for one-on-one time with the department for the department to come to the facility to perform a review and to continuously work through the plan until the facility can be confirmed and licensed and or permitted. So I will say no, it is not based on 7 hours, as it is completely variable for all the different kinds of operations that may be performed within a facility.
Gerald Purcell Farms. I got a question and related to that, just, so if you're doing like where you're processing it in a building, you'll pay $750 to have it inspected, right?
Thank you for your question, Daryl.
But let me.
Go ahead.
So then if you do a mobile unit too, are you gonna have to have $750 for each thing you do? Or is it all under one? Or if you inspect and you're doing the slot or the processing, but then 6 months, a year down the road, try to add a mobile unit, are you gonna have to pay again for that? I mean, is it separate or is it all inclusive?
Thank you for your question, Daryl. Shada Sanjita for the record. Your question is relating to what the plan review fee of $750 covers and if it's based on inspection and how it can change if operations change. So going back a little bit to the start of your question, there's no actual charge for inspection. So that $750 fee is to accompany your initial application for either a license or a permit. And this plan review is to review the flow of your facility, to review the structure of your facility, to ensure that your facility is sanitary and will not adulterate product. And this is done when you initially apply for a facility if you've never been licensed before. And then for, say, you're an official establishment with continuous animal by animal inspection, there's no charge for that. So the $750 fee is purely just for the initial review of your facility.
But like I said, if you're doing like a small plant, let's say, then if you add the mobile processing, you'll have to do it again, right?
Yes. So Shada Sanjita, for the record, if you do change the structure of your processing and you add something completely new that has never been reviewed before, you would need to perform another plan review for any new changes.
So,
Guys, did you make?
Leanna Carey, Progressive Rancher Magazine. That's all I do. Will you have a schedule of the costs? What are inclusive of these costs? And will that be on the application so that when the application is signed, the individual has full knowledge of what they're getting, why they're getting it, and what it will cover?
Thank you for your question, Leanna. Shada Sanjita, for the record, your question is regarding if there will pretty much be a breakdown of what is performed with the fee paid. At this moment, that has not been developed, but that is something that I'm happy to take to the department and review with the department to determine how we can work that and offer that to producers so that there is a little more clarity on what they're paying for and what they're receiving.
I believe legally that's a must, because you're entering into a contractual agreement for funds, for a change of service.
Mhm.
I'm not an attorney by any means. And so what I hear you say, there's no additional cost to finalize the plans after the plans have been approved.
So, Shada Sanjit, for the record, if the plans have been approved, then you move forward with your licensing. You're provided your license, you're provided your permit. It's been confirmed that your facility can operate in a sanitary manner and provide safe and sound food to Nevada's consumers. If you do not change the structure of your facility, if you're not taking down walls or adding new components to your facility, that plan review stays valid. It's only if there's something that's going to change the flow of your process or change the layout of your facility that is drastically different from your initial plan review that a plan review would need to be performed once more, which would then require another plan review fee.
And will that information be on the original application so the applicant can follow the process through?
Shada Sanjita, for the record, yes, we will be outlining the processes.
I got a question. Stacy M., Nevada Cooperative Extension. My question with the $750 plan review and approval, does that trump state and county jurisdiction, or are you going to be requiring permits from counties and cities, which are additional fees that will need to be encumbered as part of the plan?
Thank you for your question, Stacy. Shada Sanjita, for the record. So your question is regarding if there will be needs for other licensing and permitting at the county and state level. Part of your application for your license or your permit would include the approvals from the county. So the county would have to approve this type of facility being built and or operated within the county. Our licensing just provides for the fact that your facility has been reviewed and your facility will develop safe and sound food for Nevada's consumers. We don't trump county requirements.
Leanna Carey, Progressive Rancher Magazine. Will that be indicated on the application that there will be possible further licensing and permitting through counties and state?
Thank you for your question, Leanna. Shada Sanjita, for the record. Your question is regarding if we will clarify that other permits may be necessary. Yes, we will outline that in our application packet, and we will let the applicant know which items we would need in order to provide permitting or licensing for their facility. So all of the requirements will be outlined, yes.
Is it okay if I go through this? On the temperature of 180 versus 160, have you ever taken a temperature gauge or a thermometer or whatever you would help me out, you guys, what you would use to test the temperature of the water? 160 out of a rubber hose at a custom exempt should be doable. And so with that being said, the actual doability of the temperature on custom exempt should be tested and referred to, rather than a mandatory 160. Because if that's custom exempt is on private property, and they're running a hose right out of their water heater, then they would need additional equipment to push the temperature up, which is an additional cost.
What section is that?
I didn't write this section down, sorry. Other. I'm sorry, Stacy, I didn't do it.
Here's
Believe
section
so.
17.
17, between 25, 26, and 27, I believe. So section 17. Between 25, 26, and 27.
Okay, so Shada Sanjita, for the record, Leanna, is your question specifically asking how the 180 can be a confirmed temp in a facility?
On a commercial facility, I completely understand. I do. I've seen it. I understand it.
Mhm.
But I'm thinking of being a little ranch kid doing a slaughter, what we did, how we did it, as clean as we were. And I'm thinking, where are we gonna push that temperature and where's that gonna come from?
Mhm.
It's not gonna come from our water heater.
Gotcha. So Shada Sanjita, for the record, if a mobile processing facility is not able to provide 180-degree water for sanitary purposes, they can utilize an approved chemical for the sanitation of their facility.
You had 160 on there. You have 160, you have 180 in one spot and 180 and 160 in another, unless I read it wrong, you guys, and I could have done that.
Would you be able to provide me the sections?
I think Stacy's looking for it right now. I'm sorry, you guys.
Shada Sanjita, for the record, I do have section 17 as stating 180-degree Fahrenheit.
Do you have any reference to 160 degrees anywhere?
No, I think it's 180.
Did I read it wrong?
There, there's 180 and there's section 26.
26, okay. Thank you. I have one more question. I have two more, if that's okay.
I have a comment on that one.
Go
This
ahead,
is Stacy
please.
M, Nevada Extension Service. On section 17, my comment is, I believe the majority of this section should be moved to a guidance document. Custom exempt mobile operations must move place to place. There could be a verification and certification of potable water with no call forms at each place. And we believe it would be prohibitive to test water at each site, and it will increase operational costs for the producer. So those mobile operations need to be able to go ranch to ranch, be able to harvest animals and have some kind of verification of water. And I think the 180 degrees is a USDA regulation that should not impact custom exempt. It should be in their SSOPs on how they're going to handle sanitation.
Thank you for your comment, Stacy. Shada Sanjita, for the record. The department will take all of the information that you've shared and will work on rephrasing if a rephrasing is possible.
I have one more question. Leanna Carey, Progressive Rancher Magazine. On the refrigerated temperature necessary to be in compliance, is there a required visual temperature element that hangs? So the minute you open the door to the refrigerated container or component, that you can see immediately where your temperature is?
Shada Sanjita, for the record, thank you for your question, Leanna. Your question is regarding if there would be say a hanging instrument in the refrigeration to show immediately what the temperature is in that certain section. Currently in the guidelines, no, there's no requirement for that. I believe that should be listed under your operating procedures on how your facility will monitor the temperatures throughout.
Would that be over and above the board of what USDA requires? Because I've had the opportunity to be in and out, in and out, in and out of a very large refrigerated container at the Rafter C3. And that temperature can change quickly if you have people that left the door open, in and out, in and out, in and out, and all of a sudden you have an inspector show up, and those individuals that were trying to do a good job, possibly volunteers at a great big event, and they did not have the ability to see how that temperature was changing.
Mhm.
And I was concerned because we were packing meat in and out for a great big event.
Mhm.
It's just a little consideration of that I felt was important for volunteers that are, we can't know everything, but we can read a temperature gauge. And there can be a little sign there.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Shada Sanjita, for the record, Leanna, based on your question, you're asking, and please help me out if I'm completely wrong. If there's any requirement for a hanging device that shows the temperature and what kind of considerations could be taken into place for a facility that has people coming in and out consistently from refrigeration out of refrigeration, correct? Thank you.
Thank you.
At this moment, I cannot cite anything directly in USDA's regulations that state what device is needed, but as general food safety practices and record keeping, temperatures of areas should be monitored. And for good food safety, this temperature should not fluctuate too drastically too much.
Mhm.
So that should be written out in the facilities procedures on how they're keeping record, how the temperatures fluctuate in their facility, and how that they're going to keep the refrigeration within appropriate ranges for the refrigeration of any product that is hanging or any product that is wrapped and waiting to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Stacy M. Nevada Extension. I want to start with section 12(2)D. One of our comments is we believe this needs to be taken out or identify what is additionally required. Right now, it states any other information required, which would give NDA authority to throw in different regs at different times. So that's just a comment on that section.
Okay, we will notate the comment.
Okay, section 12(3). If NDA is asking for this form of official establishments and mobile units, do they have authority over counties and cities? And I think I talked about this before. There needs to be a clear delineation between NDA authority and county and city permitting processes and authority. This goes back to your fee. You know, while NDA has a $750 fee for a site plan approval, is it considering the county or city authorities will have additional fees, as well as officials who already oversee the process? So just finding a clear path forward on how that's going to work with counties and cities, because I know in Lyon County, it's a $500 fee for just a permit. And then you have to go through and submit all of these plans for that permitting process. So my question is to not bog down the producer. Can you take that permit and eliminate some of the additional processes?
Thank you for your question, Stacy. Shada Sanjita, for the record. I will take your question on if some parts of the permitting and licensing fees can be reduced. I will take that to the department and we'll go ahead and we'll review it and see what we may be able to do to help alleviate any excessive stress on our small producers.
Perfect. Stacy M, Nevada Extension, section 12.5. It's on the renewal fee. So there'll be a $500 renewal fee of an official established or custom exempt operations per year. And that's just one thing. Is that cost, is it like the brand inspection where you go online and you renew it? So there's not, I'm not going to say there's not work behind it, because I know there's work behind it. But does that renewal fee the second, third, fourth, fifth year have to be the same? Just another review of fees is my question. Moving on to section 13. This regulates custom processing establishments and mobile processing for the first time in state's history. While the official establishments have been working with NDA, mobile processing has not been regulated, and the meat is stamped not for sale and is harvested and processed by the producer. So I think I just have a statement there because I don't have a question at the end of that.
Okay, we'll take down that statement.
Okay,
Um,
and I'll submit these to you too. I just have to do a few, I found some typos. So section 13.3F, that's where it creates that $500 fee for an application or custom exempt for mobile units. The team questions the fees for most of, and you already said you're going to look at fees, so we're questioning that high fee for custom exempt, those mobile operations. Section 13.14, again, is NDA superseding county and city permitting. All of these requirements will be needed for the permitting process in a county. So it's like dual. If the documentation is submitted to NDA, then is a county city permit not needed. If a permit is required from a local entity, NDA should just state that. Right now it's left open. So what's happening, I see in these regulations, is you're going to have a whole county process that could do what the county wants to do. And then it could, in some instances in the future, put NDA against the county. Does that make sense? Because we don't know how our counties are going to rule or what their permitting processes are going to be. It might also be good if NDA has a guidance to counties. Would be perfect. Okay, I can't remember what section I'm on here. Okay, section 15.2. This should only apply to state inspection of official establishments. So I think what is really confusing about the regulations, the way they're presented, and I know NDA has heard this from me several times, so I'm just repeating it for the record, is, what's going to be required under a USDA inspection, state inspection, custom inspection, because the way that the regs are written, it makes it just confusing because you have to refer back to everything. So in this section 15.2, it looks like HACCP plans are required for custom exempt official operations and mobile operations. We believe SSOP should be required and should be sufficient. HACCP should also be taken out of section 15.3B or state it should only be for state inspection. So if you're requiring, because that state inspection is going to need a HACCP plan because it has to be the same level as USDA.
yes.
So section 16, this section should be eliminated and put into a guidance document. A custom exempt mobile processing unit will be created in a number of ways and should not be regulated to USDA and state inspection standards. It should be left up to the operator to submit an SSOP and an application and work with NDA on food safety. Nevada mobile custom exempt can be as small as a backhoe and transporting that animal in a vehicle. So we suggest leaving it up to the operator to work with NDA and creating that plan of what that's going to be and how they're going to protect carcass quality and the adulteration of product that may occur during their processes.
Thank you, Stacy. Not to cut you short, but if you may provide the comments during the next comment session, and if you have further comments, you can email them to me. My
Yeah.
email
I got
is
3 pages of comments.
yes.
Okay.
We have to keep the question and discussion to question and discussion. So if you have
Okay.
specific questions, I'm more than happy to work through them with you. But for any just straight comments,
Comments?
I would need
Okay.
them during the comment period, please. Or emailed.
Okay, so I got one more. Stacy M, Nevada Extension. So this goes back to, why is there a temperature requirement within 1 hour? How does NDA see this as realistic?
Thank you for your question, Stacy. This is Shada Sanjita for the record. The department will review that section and determine its applicability and if it's a possible method for mobile units, but we will be continuously working on that section.
Yep, the rest of mine are all comments.
Great. Any questions online? Any other questions?
Curtis Jordan, Lyon County Fair and Silver State Youth Livestock Show. Do you have any estimate of what these changes are gonna do to increase the cost of harvesting and processing?
Thank you for your question. Shada Sanjita for the record. Your question is regarding if we have any estimates for how this may impact harvesting costs. At this moment, no, I don't have any numbers that could outline increases in harvesting and processing costs. Ultimately, that does depend on the producer, where they're getting their animals from, who they're getting them from, where they're coming from, any transportation costs associated with it. So I would not be able to speak for something that a producer would have the number of at this moment.
I have another question. Progressive Rancher Magazine, isn't most custom exempt on private property? The percentage of custom exempt on private property? Mobile. And then self custom is not usually on private property, right?
Do you want to answer that one?
I can answer that. So Shada Sanjita for the record, your question is if custom processing is done on private property. That's probably mobile, but I, again, cannot speak for how other people are running their operations.
It appeared as though in the information that you provided us that they have to be open to an inspector at any time.
Shada Sanjita for the record, yes, a facility would have to be open to an inspector. They would be provided reasonable notification that an inspector would need to make a visit. And this is just purely to ensure that food safety standards are being met and ultimately that the food products coming out of these processors are safe for Nevada's consumers. Now, while it's going back to the owner of the animal, it still needs to be safe and sanitary for consumption.
What is a reasonable time limit for notice?
Shada Sanjita for the record, your question is regarding what a reasonable time is for notice. That I would have to clarify with my department as to how they have performed other notices in the past. But through the application process, everything will be outlined so that no small producer is left in the dark.
Thank you, I appreciate that. You read my mind. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm not seeing any questions coming in from online. So if we have no more questions here in person, I'll go ahead and we'll move to the next session for public comment period. Again, please be sure to state your name and any affiliation for the record and avoid repetition, and please limit your comment to 3 minutes per person.
Stacy M, Nevada Extension Service. Representing our team in our comments, we have some concerns about the extensive regulation of custom exempt for mobile operators in these proposed regulations and the impact that it will have to livestock producers in the state that are utilizing these custom exempt operations. The cost to the custom exempt mobile operator will be fees set at $1,200 plus any county and health department fees. In some parts of the state, this could exceed thousands of dollars. If you're looking in Southern Nevada, you could be upward of $5,000 in these fees. Our team feels that if the regulation moves forward as presented, our custom exempt mobile operators will move underground. And NDA will then become a policing agency instead of finding a collaborative way to ensure a safe and wholesome food supply. We really suggest that NDA identify the benefits to a state inspection program. In the regulations submitted, it appears that there is a benefit to NDA in fees and reimbursement for program implementation from USDA and obstacles of increased regulation, permitting, and fees of custom exempt operations using a mobile process.
Daryl Purcell Farms. I have real concerns about the custom side of things because I know from my own, I'm a small producer. I sell a few to friends and neighbors and stuff by quarters and halves and whatever. And just to go from custom kill to USDA is about $1 a pound. And I have people here in rural Mason Valley and Nevada that buy from me, that I have people that can't afford to pay what I charge now. And I charge cheap. I mean, I was $3 something a pound cut and wrap. You can't buy meat that way. Now I'm at $4.49, but I don't sell but 6 or 8 a year or something. So, but there's people that can't afford another $1 a pound just because it's, healthy and safe. It is healthy and safe. Hell, when I was a kid, we killed them and hung them in a tree using a chain hoist to get them up in the tree. And there was nothing wrong with it. We hung it in the back porch, a screened back porch, and then cut it up in the basement. I mean, we did everything clean. There was nothing, nobody ever got sick. And it's gotten to the point where you can't even, I mean, it's way overboard in my opinion. You're going to shoot us small guys and make it, like Stacy says, you're going to drive the small custom guys underground and you're just going to make it worse. It's going to be harder for everybody. I just think custom needs to be kind of left alone. If you want to do the USDA or if you want to do the sell within the state to anybody, like your restaurants or whatever, you got to be a hell of a lot bigger than a guy with 25 head of cows. And they can afford to do the necessary stuff, because I can't afford to buy the freezers to do USDA and then sell packaged meat. It doesn't work. I mean, it's just too much of a headache for me as a small guy. It's not worth it. I got other work to do. So that's the way I feel about it.
Thank you for your comment. We'll for sure take that down.
Well, I gotta go kill a cow.
Where's that?
You better hurry up quick before they get the regs in.
Alyssa Townsell, for the record, it looks like we have Mike who has a question. Mike, you may unmute and ask your question or say your comment. Thank you.
Hello, Mike Ray, Two Pigs Custom Meats in Alamo, Nevada. We have a small processing facility here in Alamo. We kill not on site, but nearby, utilizing a backhoe and a mobile truck that has a rail system. And like the comments before, I believe these regulations that you're proposing are going to push us right out of business. We employ 3 people part-time, and
Alyssa, for the record, I believe you muted yourself on accident, so we may not be able to hear you. Would you like to restate your comment?
I'm sorry, was I on mute? Nice, it was heard.
Alyssa, tell us for the record, we heard the first half, but we did not hear your second half.
Okay, where did you not hear me? I'm sorry, I didn't realize it had muted somehow.
Alyssa Townsell, for the record, it's no problem at all. I have down that the regulations may push you out of business. Would you like to continue after that?
Yes, just the fact that the additional costs of adding equipment and or facility, adding to our facility that we don't make enough to we process 2 to 3 beef a week, a few hogs and a few lambs and goats throughout the year, and we're constantly busy. We have a waiting list, but if our expenses go up, we're not going to be able to keep up with it, and we'll have to find something else to do.
All right, Shada Sanjita, for the record, thank you for your comment, Mike.
I have a comment, Leanna Carey, Progressive Rancher Magazine. Listening to Mike, it is exactly what we were attempting not to do, is get the process was to get more food, more healthy food, more individuals involved, and out into our system, out into our food systems, and provide the ability for a quicker access to foods and good healthy meats because of the situation that occurred to us and with us and affected us during COVID. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I comment again? In regards to Daryl Purcell, in regards to what Leanne said, during COVID, just so that you guys don't maybe have a little more concept, when I try to book a beef, they'd be 3-4 months out. You have it ready to process and you can't get in for 3-4 months. If you went to UNR, it was 6-8 months. You're like, what the hell? And then if you have pigs, I had to book 3 months in advance. Well, they're going to have to be ready. And you just can't, we're trying to get more processing available in the state of Nevada. We have none as such. I mean, we have a few small places, but we don't have any. And that's why everything comes in from Nebraska or who knows where, Timbuktu. So it's just shooting us in the foot statewide to make it worse than it already is. I mean, we need a better system, but we don't need to overregulate either. I mean, it's just burdensome. So
Thank you for your comment.
Alyssa Townsell, for the record. Mike Ray, do you have another comment? Please unmute if you do.
Yes, this is Mike Ray again. I appreciate you letting me comment further. When I start talking, I get nervous and forget what I'm going to say. We believe that, a safe and healthy product coming out of our shop is important. My partner and I took HACCP training last year, not because it was required, but because we wanted to know more about HACCP and food safety. And I believe that food safety is important, but along with the other comments, we also want to grow this industry in Nevada. And I don't see that these proposed regulations and so forth are going to do that. I almost feel like it's an attempt to kill whoever is doing it right now, and also prevent anybody from really getting into doing it again. We've been working since COVID on a possible USDA inspected plant, and I wouldn't mind it being a Nevada inspected plant, but what's being discussed now, I think, will have a very adverse effect on what we're doing, our small little tiny plant that we have now, and those who are doing it throughout the state, which there aren't very many. People call us with pigs, and they're usually ready when they call us, and we're telling them they're going to have to wait 3 or 4 months, and so there just needs to be more people doing this, and I don't see that this process is helping that move forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Mike. Shayna Sanjita for the record. Well, at this moment, I'm not seeing anyone else who would like to provide public comment. So thank you all for your participation. The Nevada Department of Agriculture will take the comments from today into consideration, along with any written comments received during the rulemaking process. Following the workshop process, there will be a hearing for adoption of regulations scheduled and communicated. This notice for the hearing will be posted not less than 30 days prior to the hearing date and will provide instruction as to how to provide written comment and a deadline for submission of comment for the purposes of being included in the official record of the hearing for adoption. Thank you everyone for attending today. This workshop is adjourned as of 12:53 p.m.